Okay, let's have our coffee now. Yeah. Yeah, that's a real stamp. Right? Alrighty, guys, welcome to Animate with everyone's animator, and I still remains everyone's animator. I want to officially welcome us to the grand finale of our animation journey. This is where we'll be talking about final composition slash render. It has been a great journey from the start where we talked about rough sketching a character design all the way to animating, and now I'll be showing us how to finally get your animation out of the software and getting it ready for final viewing. We can't wait for us to show our friends and loved ones what we've been able to create. Yes, I'm super excited to show you guys how to get that done. And on a side note, if you're watching our video for the very first time, kindly support our little Osu by subscribing to our channel and click the bell notification button if you want to be seeing money everywhere you go, like literally on the floor. Also, like I used to mention in all the past videos, there is a project file available for download for each and every course down to this particular one. So check the description below for the Google Drive link and download that so you can easily follow along in all the classes. That is the best way you can easily grab what it is we'll be talking about from the very onset. So enough of all the talk, let's get to it.
Alrighty guys, super excited to finalize on the animation we've been working on. So far so good. So in today's class we are not talking too much. What we're just doing right now is bringing in the camera, slapping in our background, and also doing a quick editing in an editing software, and then we render for our final viewing. So let's quickly dive into it. The first thing I need to do right now, as you can see on my screen, we have a plain background. So there's a background I've been able to create before now. So I can just come to the project file here, select the symbol itself, right click and copy, then come to my main composition, create a new layer under boy layer. Then I can lock everything else except for that, and then right click on the screen, go to paste in place. So we see the background has been placed in place. I can just do a little bit of adjustment and then scrub through to see how the whole thing shakes out. Okay, that's cool. All right, the first thing I'm noticing here is the background is clashing with my character design, because I can see that the color is quite the same thing as my character's skin tone, and then the color of this the shirt. So I can try to just change all that. So this is why it's good to have things on symbols anyway. So I can double click to go into the background, double click to go into the wall, and then let's work with something saturated. Alrighty guys, so far so good. I think this is quite okay for our project. I've been able to pop out the background with kind of like a flat blue color, so the character can just pop out. We are not really talking too much about color harmony, anything that has to do with colors. So let us keep focus on what it is we want to do. So since we have a background here now, I can lock my background, and then the next thing to do is to bring in my camera. So bringing in camera is quite automatic in Adobe Animate. If you come down to your timeline here, you will see where we have this add camera icon at the very top. So once you click on that, automatically there will be an inbuilt camera that will come up, and then you can see the control down here. So the first one is where you can do your tilting. So if you grab this dot here, so we click on the tilting, grab the dot, pull it back, you see your camera tilts to the right, and then if you grab that same dot and pull the other way around, you see your camera doing the stuff. But right now we don't really need the tilting. What we need is the zoom in and zoom out, which is the second option. So we click on that, and that way we can always have our zoom in and zoom out to reframe our shots. So listening closely to the sound, I think we can remember what it said. Watch what will happen if I press this button. So I feel we should start with a close-up when it says that, and then the part where is about to click the button, which is right here. I can create a keyframe. Mind you, the moment we click on the camera icon, which is the hard camera, there will be an automatic camera layer that will be created. This layer cannot be altered. So what it means is you can't lock it, you can't hide it, whatever it may be. So if you feel that you still want to do some other adjustment or your animation while you already have a camera enabled, what you can do is you can just remove the camera. if you probably animated your cameras corresponding to the animation you created, and then you feel you wanted to go back to do some adjustment to your animation, and you don't want to accidentally, you know, deface or defect your camera animation, you don't want to destroy it, you can just click on remove camera. So once you click on remove camera, you don't need to be afraid, because all your animation are still intact. None of them is destroyed or being deleted. The only way you can delete a camera if you know you don't need it anymore. Let's say I bring up my camera back, so in case I don't need this camera anymore, I wanted to create a new one, or maybe just, ditch this one and then have a new camera. What you can just do is come to this trash icon, which is delete, and then delete the camera. So this way, whatever the animation I have on my camera is all gone. But in the case when you have animations on your camera and then you still want to keep those animation, but you just want to hide it for now and then go to your character design and do some adjustment, what you need to do instead is to just add your camera and remove your camera. So let's just create few keyframes here to test that. So now you see I have two keyframes on my camera layer now. So let's say I want to remove this so I can just do some other things on my main animation. So if I click on remove camera and then I do my stuff, then I come back and click add camera, you can see those two keyframes are still intact. That's just to illustrate what I've been explaining so far. But for now, I tend not to need this camera anymore, so I can just delete it and then create a new one. So you can see now I have a fresh camera. Back to our main thing. So I said at this point I want us to start with a close-up, that is a close-up on his face. And then at this point where he's about to click when he's gonna look down to click the camera, I want the shot to come to this wide angle. So I can set the keyframe around here and then go back to this part where I have this first keyframe. You can click anywhere, you don't need to click these dots, you can just click anywhere here. And then let's grab our camera control. Remember, zoom in, zoom out, so we can just drag it to the right to zoom in, and then click on the page, something around here, to drag the camera around. So I can zoom in, and then I think this is good. So you can always see this blue boundary box, that is your camera. If you wanted to just focus on this camera, which is this boundary box right here, you can always come up here where we have clip content outside the page. So you want to click on that, you see that it will just show you the areas where the camera is seen. For me, I don't really work with this because sometimes I love to see what it is on the outside, so I can be able to easily frame my camera, but at least you can still see the boundary box. So I have my close-up here. We cut to the master shot, which is the long shot where it clicks the button, and then I think we can just stay on this to where it walks over. So we start with a close-up and then we go all the way to the long shot. So just like what we did in our head animation, you can always create keyframes in your camera and also add classic twins to move your camera around. You can do stuff, play around with your cameras. That's just basically what the controls are for. You can always add classic twins to your camera as well, do your ease in and ease out. Like I said, for this class we just wanted to focus on what it is we want to do, which is just framing our camera corresponding to what our character is doing. In this case, it's just talking. We don't really have too much of a thing that is doing where we need to animate our camera to move or to do a little bit of panning and then zoom in and all those shit. So we just need the camera to stay on his face and then cut out to see this full body. So now that I'm done with all my camera settings and my camera options, my camera shots, blah blah blah, I can now click on that clip content outside the stage thing, so to see what it is my camera is seeing now in case I need any further adjustment. So this is my close-up, and then this is my master shots, and then it works all the way here. So since we are good with this, that's pretty much the end of our production process in Adobe Animate. So what we need to do now is to do a quick render. Rendering in the Adobe Animate is as easy as it gets. You don't need to bug yourself too much about anything. What I would just want us to do is just to keep to the initial options and settings that I have on my page. So to render, you go to File, come down to export, and then we go to export video slash media. So once you click on that, a little box like this will come up. First thing first, make sure you check ignore stage color. What this does is, in case you don't have a background on our animation, or like before we bring in the background, so what that does is it's gonna ignore that background. That is, it will make you have a transparent background animation. That is a good thing for you in case you wanted to create an animation that you want to chrome on a particular video or on a separate background in other editing software, in case you don't want to do your backgrounds here. So you can always have that. So I recommend you check that, because this is something you might need without you even knowing. So once you have it checked out, you are safe. But if you notice that you didn't check it and you export and you are seeing a flat color in your animation, you can always come back here and check it and then re-render. That is that. So we check our size is still the same thing, 1920 by 1080, and then we are rendering the entire movie, of course. So make sure these two are not checked, the scene and the time. But for the format, I'm not really going to talk too much about format, but the format I want us to focus on is QuickTime H.264, which is for MP4 video player. And the last one is, you can also work with AV high if we have AV high here. AV high, okay, we have AV high here, but I don't think we have appropriate. But for me, I render all my animations in QuickTime, so I recommend you also stick with that. The reason for QuickTime is because it's a higher rendering format. Note, rendering your animation in QuickTime is gonna give you a very high animation file. You know, a minute or 10 seconds animation project in Animate might give you up to 5 gig of rendering raw. You know, just for you to note, if you're doing this, make sure you're rendering into a computer that has enough space. So keep it on QuickTime, and then for the presets, just leave this on default animate. Then output is where you want your project file to render to. For me, I already have it set out, document, and then where I have my raw file. If you want to change your location, you can always just click on this browse specific option, then you can locate where you want your raw file to go. So for me, I can say I wanted to go to where I have all my animation project file, and then click save. So once all these has been checked out and you see everything is good, then click export. So Animate will take its time to export your Swift file first, and then it will export the MOV, which is the main source file that we'll be using in an editing software to finally edit our animation project. Alrighty guys, so once the rendering has been done in Adobe Animate, we come to, I'll be using Premiere Pro to edit my raw file. So you can always use any editing software you have. You know, it's just a basic editing. You don't really need to add any much more element to it. So for Premiere Pro, we can just come to new project file, you know, because we're about to just edit something new. So I can call this boy edit, and then every location setting is good. Yeah, just leave everything else and then click OK. So Premiere Pro will load up, and then now I have a blank project file to work with. So I can come down here to where I have my projects. This is where I can bring in my raw file. So to do that, I can locate where I have my new bin, select that, and then create, let's call this raw file, which is just like a project file. Double click to go inside, and then I can click on this new folder shape and go to new sequence. So for new sequence, what that means is I need to set up my timeline real quick. So for me, I normally use my DV PAL, which is widescreen 48HZ. Then I can call, I don't, well, I really don't need to just rename this, but let me just rename it and call it boy, and then click OK. So once you do that, you can see now we have a full sequence ready for editing. So to bring in my file now, I can come to file, import, then I will locate where I have my then I can import my project file. So now you can see we have our video here. Okay, so select the video and drag it all the way to the timeline, then drop. So you might get this message, you might not get this message. So what this message means is it's just telling me that the sequence setting I use in Animate is not really corresponding to the sequence setting I just set up for Premiere Pro. But Premiere is asking me, do I want him to just adjust things for me? So I might decide to say no, I might decide to say yes. But for me, I think I'll just say yes, which is change sequence settings. So the best way is just for you to change the sequence settings so that it can work seamlessly with the same sequence that you're coming with in Adobe Animate. So I will click on change sequence settings, and now I have my video here, so I can zoom in all the way to see, just crop through to see the exact video played out, and that's it. So now, since this is as good as it gets, I don't think we need to bring in a soundtrack for this. Let's just keep it as simple as possible. I just wanted to show us how you can render your project file and get it ready to play on your devices or your TV and stuff. So once it's on my timeline now, you can see everything lasted for just 7 seconds, and that is as good as that. I can scroll check things to see if there's any correction that needed to be done. I can always just go back to Adobe Animate to fix. But so far so good, everything is good. So to do my final rendering now, which is the second rendering, go back to my file, go to file, and then now instead of import we go to export, and then from export we click on export media. All right, so this is also just like the same small box we got from Adobe Animate asking us questions as regard formats. So for this as well, let's stick to what I'll be creating. Remember, we render raw from Adobe Animate, and the reason is because of quality. Because if you render raw and it doesn't have quality, once you come to Adobe Premiere here, which is where we are editing our main source, the final quality will be as bad as possible, just like garbage in, garbage out. So, but since we render raw on high quality, right now we can always step down the video size. So to do that, come to where we have our format, which is the first thing. Make sure it's on H.264, which is MP4 player, like I said, and then you can see the size down here, which is 9 megabytes only. Then for your presets, you can always do match sequence high bitrate, but if you feel like 9 MB is too big for you, you can always come down to adaptive low bitrate. So you see this is now 5 megabytes. But I love quality stuff. I love my animations to have clarity and quality, of course. So let's just stay on match sequence high bitrate because 9 MB is just small. Come on, why do you still want to go down? Okay, so once we have that, you can come to output name, click on that, and then this is also asking us the location where you want your final video to go. So I can say I want my video to go here, and then I'll call it final boy. So once I have that set out, everything else is good. As you can see, we have our frame rate here, 1920 by 1080, and then 30 frames per second. Everything is good. I would advise not to touch any of this because when we drag the raw file into the timeline, you can remember we said change sequence settings. So Premiere has automatically set up everything for us. Now the only thing you just need to do is now the final click out, which is exports. So once you click on export, Premiere will export your audio and then your video file, combining everything together as one entity. So with that, we now have our video ready for final viewing. So you can just locate your video on your libraries panel where you have it rendered to, copy it, and then paste on your device and play. So I believe with that you can have it playing on your devices because it's on MP4 video format. So with that being said, we've come to the final and the end of our animation journey. It has been a great journey so far, believe me, if I do say so myself. I just wanted to use this quick opportunity to thank all my subscribers, all my followers, those that have been asking questions, and those that have been eating my DM on WhatsApp, asking me how they can go about some few things in the tutorial so far. So I've been able to collate one or two things that I've been getting from you guys. So subsequently I'll be releasing independent tutorials as regarding all those issues. So I know that in this course there are some things that I didn't really touch that much. There are some things I had to skip. I understand. So the time is now for me to have a particular video targeting those topics. So this is just a vote of thanks to everyone for subscribing. Thanks for liking my video. Thanks for following all the courses down to this point. I really appreciate you guys. You know, the feedbacks are the things that has been pushing me to make sure that I keep getting this done. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone. So and then remember, the project file for this and all the previous classes are made available. You can just check the description below for the Google Drive link and downloads. Like I keep mentioning, the best way for you to flow along with the classes is if you have access to the project files. So while I'm doing stuff, you can always just navigate around to see the whole thing in real time, and then you too can also use it as a reference to create your own. Remember to keep dropping your questions, dropping your remarks, anything you want me to do, any class or anything you want me to touch in animation. Let me know in the comment section, or hit me up in my DMs. My social handles are down in the description below. You can have access to them. So let me know what it is you want me to talk about, and then I'll make sure I get those topic tackles. So on that note, thank you very much and peace out.
So guys, that is all we have for today's class. Sure, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and that bell button, click on it so you will get notified when the next class drops. So until next time guys, keep being a dazzling artist.